So 4 minutes past 3, can start this now. And I appreciate you all for joining in early again. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the second and final day of our 2-day Virtual Mentorship Program on agriculture. And if you joined us yesterday, welcome back. And if today is your first day, we are really glad to have you with us. And my name is Victor, and I lead community growth here at Risevest. So yesterday we spent some time understanding how profitable agricultural businesses are built. So from identify which opportunities you should even go to, how agriculture is vast. There is the crop production, there's the livestock, there's the aggregation markets, there's the processing, there's the distribution, and a whole lot of opportunities across the value chain. So what does it really takes to build and scale a sustainable agribusiness? We touched on that yesterday, but today we are taking the next step in that journey. We're going beyond building for the local market. I mean, we're still going to touch a bit of that for more understanding, but what does it even really take to build for the global markets and to build nationwide also? So that is why we thought this topic or this conversation is very important. And one thing we try to do in the community is we always think of conversations that necessarily impact us in terms of our personal finance, and a couple of people reach out for conversations like this. So stay tuned for day 2 topic, which is how to build an agri-export business from Africa. So how do you build an export business in agriculture from Africa? That's what we're going to be touching on this afternoon. And I think one thing that surprised me while I was preparing for today's session is that if you think about it, many of Africa's agricultural products are already in high demand around the world. So the products like cocoa, sesame seeds, cashew nuts, ginger, shea butter, coffee, and many others are consumed daily, like across Europe, Asia, North America. But that's to tell you that the opportunities are there, but it's not only about the opportunities are there. How do you even get those opportunities, and how do you meet the standards that the buyers in globally expect? So that's what we're going to be touching on mainly for today's conversation. And please stay tuned. I think I would give it now to my speaker to introduce herself and to the community, and from there we can probably just start. So Ozioma, I'm going to grant you access to speak now. So how are you, Ozioma? How are you doing today? And do you mind doing a bit of introduction to our community? Introducing yourself to our community, then we can start. Granted you access to speak. There's a mic button, you can click on it to unmute, and then you can speak. I don't know if it's just me, but I cannot hear you. So I just granted you access to speak.
Okay. Yes. Hi, everybody. Good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can, loud and clear. How are you?
Okay, awesome. Amazing. I'm very well. Good afternoon, everybody. So I'm just going to make this as practical and concise as possible. I will start with introducing myself. My name is Ozioma Onwordi. It's a compound name. I am the founder of a company called Eden Acres Integrated Organic Farm, Eden Whole Foods, and then what you see on your screen, Eden Cat. So we're a farm to table agricultural company, and we play across the entire value chain. So a bit of primary production and aggregation, distribution, food processing and packaging, exports, and the works. It is a lot, and I didn't grow up this way. This was not my career. I think it chose me. So I grew up in the village, and for me, when I came to Lagos, food was expensive. and this formed the need to grow food. And it is while growing food and distributing it that processing, became a thing that I needed to do as the next step. And then at the point where I was researching, I found out that it was important to now also not sell to the local market, but sell some of these products to Nigerians in diaspora, especially to earn foreign exchange and basically to grow my market base. So this is a little about me. I've been doing this for 7 plus years. My further background is in finance. I have about a 12-year career experience across retail, commercial, and corporate banking in commercial banks in Nigeria. And then I left at the start of COVID to focus fully on my business. And here we are today. So I'll pass the mic back to Victor, and then I'll commence the training or the exercise.
All right. Thank you so much, Ozioma. So nice to have you here, and thank you for taking the time to be with us. I think you did justice to the introduction, and I'm so very glad you are here so you can deep dive into what we have. So I think I'm just quickly going to run through the starting. So we start now. So it's going to be so I can see some people with questions to speak already. It's going to be mainly a lecture session for now between I and Ozioma for the next 30-35 minutes. Then we open up the floor for many of you that might want to drop your questions or contributions. So you mentioned earlier how you've been doing this for quite some time, and to increase your market, you had to start looking for Nigerians in diaspora. So I think we'll start from the foundation. Do you know how agriculture exports can present itself? It's a lucrative opportunity, but for like many people, for some people, the process still always feels confusing or out of it. They might already hear what exporting is, but they don't actually know what it looks like in practice. So, from your experience running, building, Eden farms, can you walk us through what the export journey actually looks like in practice? And yeah, let's start from there before
Okay.
we.
All right. So I usually like to start from the back, but I think you had that conversation yesterday, so I'll just start from the export part. And exports
I
is
think you
usually
can do that too. I think you can do that too.
okay. Okay. So let me just throw a little bit light on this. Agriculture is lucrative. There's no two ways about it. Everybody must eat. Now, the structure is what is important. And I feel that is what is lacking in the industry, right? Most industries are very well structured. Agriculture is done mostly by smallholder farmers, and because of that, they do not have the required training, exposure, and network to put their business in order. If they can put seed in soil and it's sprouted, then I think people just start a farm. Most of the people that we work with, that is how they started. Some of them also grew up in the village. That is what they knew, and that is how they started. It has to be a lot more than that because that is subsistence farming, right? Basically, not really trade by barter. Feed your family, then what your excess, sell it, get the cash, and buy food. So let's look at the money part of agriculture. And I like to call it agribusiness. And I believe that is my strength. And this is what I have done for my business, right? Structure is a big thing, starting with primary production, starting with even local supply. Supply chain knowledge is also a very big thing. It means that you need to perfect it locally before you even begin to think about exporting outside the borders of Nigeria, be it Ghana, Cameroon, or anywhere, as long as it's leaving Nigeria, right? This brings me to structure because exporting is a highly structured system from start to finish. If you miss one point, you lose. It will no longer be profitable. It will be like a headache, right? So, in saying this, agriculture is lucrative. Exporting is also lucrative. However, it needs to be very clear. All the operational phases, it needs to be very clear so you know what you need to do exactly at what point in time, what processes to look to before you scale. Because the reality on paper in class is not the same when you actually start to export. So I'm going to take it very simply so that a newbie who has never heard of export, who has never done it, can understand the process. Before you think of exporting, you will need to do a lot of research and you need to do a lot of reading. research, talking to people in Nigerians, especially in diaspora, to just know what does that market want, because the Nigerians in the UK want different things from the Nigerians in the US, want different things from the Nigerians in Canada. Now I am using Nigerians because we have a lot of Nigerians in diaspora, and it is easier to address their needs before you start to shoot blanks and want to export, right? So now also there are two types of exports: the fresh food exports and the processed food exports. I have not fully done the fresh food exports, honestly, because I feel it's cumbersome and that the required system to even start it in Nigeria is not in place. And it's a whole lot of headache and risk to undertake compared to packaged food. A few of that risk I'm going to share it in this conversation. And I'll start with some examples. So I've had a few friends with very huge farms work together, export boxes of habanero, Scotch bonnet, what we call rodeo. There's the advanced one called habanero. It is like a scarce commodity in other parts of the world, and it is high in demand. However, Nigeria is Nigeria, and that reality is something that we must look to. And I'm being very honest because I believe this is an honest conversation. The scrutiny that exports out of Nigeria face, I do not personally, my opinion please, personally believe that other countries undergo such scrutiny. So I'll say that we're kind of at a disadvantage at the point of export. But once you go through, then it becomes easier. That is why it's important to have conversations like this, so you are informed before you undertake. So this, my friends, ship out a container of habanero, right? And it's boxed, 20 kg boxes. You can have about 400 cartons in a container. Now, that things called aphids and sometimes termites or pests that can somehow get into pepper. The truth is that it is pest, but it's not particularly unedible. It is not poisonous. However, most importing countries do not want it in their country, and that is understandable. So they have to quarantine your products on arrival at their border when it arrives, and then check it. So they randomly check boxes. Now, in this unfortunate incident, one of those boxes actually had a pest crawl out, and the entire container is cancelled, billed for either return or just basically discard. Now, in this position, I will personally feel is unfair, because you could now be compassionate enough, considering the cost of shipment, and now put effort in checking all those boxes one after the other. It is 400 cartons, I understand. It is cumbersome, I understand. You may decide that you should charge more for further testing and scrutiny, but not condemn the entire shipment, because it costs somebody money, it costs time, sacrifices, and pain to ship and bring in products. So personally, that is my opinion about fresh produce. So it is dicey. You do not have full control about what is inside a box of vegetable unless you are processing, unless you are cutting open these peppers. So such an instance can happen, and it's a full loss. So when somebody tells you in a conversation that export is lucrative, you're looking at them with bloody murderous eyes, because you've been beaten or you've had the story of somebody who has actually gone through something like this. So the second part to look at is the processed food export, and I believe that is where it's easier to do a lot more, because processing does not necessarily mean finished packaged products, bottled and labeled. It could also be split and dried ginger, the way that we know it, like we say ginger. So the main ginger that is exported out of Nigeria are usually processed to a certain extent. So they're basically washed, graded, washed, split, dried, and then weighed and bagged in different bags, right? So that's, to a large extent, you can look at the moisture content, you can look at how crisp it is, you can look at, I mean, the heat level. You can control a lot more things compared to fresh ginger. It could arrive soggy, and then that becomes an issue. So I will advise anybody in this room to first, please, consider the processed food part of export, and then when you have maybe fully implemented this or fully understood the process, you could begin to consider fresh produce exports, which is also something I'm beginning to consider now, being that DHL is beginning to, I mean, have cargoes, um, pick up and drop off fresh produce, right? So if the cost makes sense, then yes, it's something to look at. But always start with the processed food because you kind of have full control around it. That is one. Now, coming to the export market, like I said, it is very structured. Compliance is a lot. There's really no cutting corners. And when it's coming from Nigeria, there's additional scrutiny. So it means that you must dot all your I's and cross all your T's and make sure that everything is checked, right? So I'm going to just take us through the process. So study your target markets. You must research. You must ask questions. If you have the capacity, travel to those countries and walk into stores and have conversations with store owners. Just the way that you want to sell shoes, you're bringing in shoes from China. You walk into Balogo and begin to talk to like wholesale buyers or potential distributors to ask them design, to ask them what's selling in the market, to ask them the quality of rubber, leather, or so that needs to sell. It is not different from exports. Because the truth is this, even in those foreign countries, they do their own local trading. In Nigeria, we import things every time. And when the things come into the country, it's just normal trade. So the toughest part of export is bringing the goods into the country, not really selling it within, because it's expected that you've done your own research and you know what is sellable in a country. So having it in mind that it's structured is key, so that you can cross all your checks and mark all your checks before you bring in your product. But before you engage, study that target market, go into it if you need to, because the requirement for EU is different from the US. And it is across board. So I'm going to take food because they're talking about agriculture here. So in Nigeria, when you want to do food, the first thing that you'll be asked of is NAFDAC, the National Agency of Food and Drugs. There's also now the SUN certificate. SUN used to concern themselves with electronical appliances, but now they are now beginning to concern themselves with food as well. And even though NAFDAC has spearheaded this for a long time, SUN has come on board and said no, that is also within their jurisdiction to have compliance across the food sector. So to export, the first certificate you need to get, honestly, is NAFDAC, because there must be a country of origin where the product is coming out of. And because it's food, and NAFDAC covers both food and cosmetics, you must get the right certification. However, this is not really street information. You do not have to get NAFDAC for every single product that you want to export. Please, let me explain so that we're not confused. So if I am exporting a batch of palm oil, gari, split ginger, one NAFDAC certificate will cover my shipment. Now, this is very different from when you're selling in Nigeria. You will need to get NAFDAC for every single product before you can shelve it in a store or in a supermarket. In fact, you will need to get additional NAFDAC certification called pack extension certification for additional sizes or packaging sizes of the same product. So if I have palm oil in 1 liter, 2 liter, 5 liter, there has to be approval for each size, even if it's the same product. During exports, this is not how NAFDAC operates. So they still will have to cover your food products, but it is one certificate originating from NAFDAC showing that all of these products have been certified fit for consumption and for exports. And this is mostly oils, honey, and the likes. If you are exporting dried vegetables like split ginger, dried ugu, or any of those dried pulses and legumes, you need to also get something called a phytosanitary certificate. This is done at the port authority. I think they are somewhere at the airport. So this is beyond NAFDAC. So depending on the content of where you're exporting, you need to get this certification. Anything that has to do with leaves, basically, that is not oil or liquid. Phytosanitary will have to do their test, issue you. It's come from the Nigerian Agricultural Quarantine Service (NACS), and they give you that certification as well. Now, depending on this is now your local certification, and above all, you need to get a Nigerian Export Promotion Council certificate that says that you're credible, verified, and validated exporter exporting out of Nigeria. These are important local documentations. Now, for the country that you are exporting into, you also need to get certifications, very importantly, because when it leaves Nigeria, it needs to come into a country, and that is where export has actually really happened, when it is imported into another country. So you have to get your organic certification if you claim that your products are organic. If you don't have that, you have to get the global GAP, Good Agricultural Practice certification. But most importantly, you have to research and ask for additional local certifications that country that you're importing into will be asking. They usually will have it on their website. So when you go to their exports So that the US, for instance, if you Google or export certification to bring in products XYZ into the US, this will reel out all of that, direct you to the offices to send emails to. If you're in the US, then you can go to their offices. What for the US, one of the key documents you need is the US FDA certification, and also you need a global gap. Each state you're importing into the US, and this is because I know this because I have done this. Each state you're importing to the US have their own different requirements because each state is governed by its own set of laws. So if you're bringing into Texas, you're bringing into Maryland, each state will require additional certifications apart from the ones that is listed on their website. So you will need to ask that key information. So you do not have your products already at the ports, at the border, in the country that you're importing into, and it's beginning to incur demurrage because you did not have the certifications in time. It will eventually be released to you, but you have incurred more money than required. And the key thing in exports is that time is money because the cost of demurrage will eat into your profits or even fully erode it. So these are very key. So if you are importing into the US and you want to sell to African stores, which is what most people sell to, or even non-African stores, Caribbean stores or Pakistani stores, you need to get a verified buyer. Brothers and sisters, this is not a walk in the park. It is like passing a camel through the eye of a needle for those that are Christians. So it is easiest if you're honestly in that country where you want to import your products and you have done your groundwork prior. Flip side is that you already have partners who are willing or sitting and ready to take in your product once it comes in. So it doesn't sit in one warehouse, incurring additional costs instead of being distributed to the people that will buy it. In essence, get your buyer. It is important that you have a ready buyer who have also not just said it to you with mouth, a committed buyer who you have an MOU with, a committed buyer who has skin in these products that are coming in. Skin in the essence that they have some level of cash commitment, financial commitment, at the minimum 20 to 30%. These exports are usually if you're doing it on a large scale. The reverse is this, and I'm being very honest and frank. You want to test the market. You've asked your friends and community, oh, what do people want? What do people want? You collect all of this order, you bring it, you have it in an apartment where you're staying, and then you're taking it to, maybe let's say you're a student for instance, and then you're in the US or in the UK, so you've brought in a few of these products because you see it's high in demand, your friends are buying it from African shops, and you know you can get it cheaper from Nigeria. Even when it lands into the UK or into the US, it will still be cheaper, so you can make a good margin, right? So you have to be marketing your product prior before its arrival. You've taken order, you're talking to people, so you're selling in your communities, your student community, your church community, your friend cycle, basically, I'm saying I have the best granite oil, or I have the best palm oil, which is what most people buy. I have the best clean crayfish, which is what most people buy. I have the best cashew nuts. This is more like focusing on Nigerians in diaspora, which is what I have done, which is what has paid me. And as I scale, this is what I'll continue to do, and maybe elevate into two Caribbean and African stores, right? And for me, this is like an easier way to enter the export market. However, there's the big boys export, which is focusing on the key products that Nigeria exports out, mainly sesame, cashew, split ginger, and you would need to buy. It's best to do B2B for these things. So you must have been in trade fairs and exhibitions, which is where they will usually gather, where you can either matchmake or meet people and have those deep conversations and take it outside the event space and actually have firm conversations and firm documentations and agreements that says, okay, I'm bringing in cashew nuts from out of Nigeria or the entire ECOWAS country. This is what specification you want, and I mean, you're doing all of that, and then you're carrying your bank along. So you're not just having the documentations for exports. You have to have the financial documentations and instruments in place. So you're talking about letters of credit here, talking about bills for collection, because nobody is going to pay you 100% upfront. You're mostly going to use your money. So I'm going to take this in phases so that we'll get back to the financial instruments part. So it is first fresh and packaged, and we're bringing it down again to doing small exports, focusing on the target market, and then big export, focusing on B2B for companies who are processing. Maybe they want split ginger to do cosmetics, maybe they want shea butter to do whatever edible oil or cosmetics, maybe they want avocado, cashews or sesame seed because they're further processing it into other kind of products for themselves. So this usually will happen with B2B. This is the first phase. It's a lot of work at this point. you need to give yourself time and grace. You need to also put yourself in networks. So, I mean, register with Nigerian Export Promotion Council. They usually have um, network groups where they actually put people together and discuss exhibitions that they can take you to, either paid or at half price, and then you can actually join and meet people and have conversations, because it's important that you do your research. They also have trainings where they bring in experts to talk about your export journey and just direct you better. So that is phase one. Let's say now you have done all of this, you've traveled, you've seen things, and then you have an interested buyer. He's committed, he's willing to give you 40, 50%, and then you're looking at how to also balance the rest and move forward. The real work now starts at this point. Quality control is the reason a lot of Nigerian products are turned back. Sometimes you hear, oh, beans, Nigeria can no longer export beans because, I mean, aflatoxin was in the beans, or chemicals and pesticides was beyond above the mark, international mark, or the corn has toxins that should not be, and we're wondering because, like, it didn't concern us, but it's concerning us. Everyone now say, don't eat beans, so don't eat beans. They said poisonous beans is outside. Sometimes it's not even usually local. It is because international agencies who actually vet these products are flagging it and returning it or rejecting it, because normally they even destroy it, and flagging it and sending out circulars, and they will begin to take that information and also spread it locally and say, they said beans, now that this is happening. So, because the truth is this, while NAFDAC and all of these people exist, the checks are not as tight as when it's exported out of Nigeria. Because the local woman selling palm oil in the market, who is really checking her palm oil? Who is checking how the water process? So the people that have NAFDAC or go ahead to have NAFDAC, and people that can even come under that kind of authority where the production places can be checked, can be verified, can be looked at, you know. So that is phase two, quality control. It's a big thing. So for you, you're putting out your brand, you're putting out your name, people are talking to you on trust and engaging with you on trust because they have seen you. They have engaged with you. They've had conversations with you. You look credible. You seem, in fact, you have an international address where you operate from there that they have verified. You need to ensure that all of this trust that you have built is not wasted. So it means that your quality control check has to be top notch. So you must enforce strict farm practices with the people that you're going to partner with to do your primary production. Please do not just go and buy products from the open market. It is very risky. You will need to start traveling down to farms. You need to start, if you start from the market, you need to trace it from the market to the people growing it, so that you have a community or an ecosystem of people who are growing what you're going to export, because it is your company and your name on the line. When they give a good agricultural practice certification, global gap certification, it is to you and not to the cluster of farmers that grew that produce. It means that your eyes must be peeled. You must be checking what they are doing. You must have a template that every person that is growing a batch for you is following. Because when you put it together in one box, it becomes your company, it becomes your brand. In this phase two of quality control, you must ensure that your local farm preparation and processing is top notch. You must have field agents, or what we call liaison officers, checking end to end, going into the places that you cannot go into. You have a template that they have to work with to report to you. I mean, it's a long, large team, and this is why I say when you're doing bulk exports, it's a lot more. It's for the big boys, really, because you have to have deep pockets, but you must get it right. It's not undoable, but you must guide. You have to have deep pockets. You have to have good talents who understand the process, who can work with you to make sure that there's no single error in the supply chain. There's nothing like, I'm sorry, they'll just arrest you. Sorting and grading is very important. You must separate by size, by level of ripeness, because any order you get has entire specification that your buyer wants. Moisture level, split level. So let's use cashew for instance. The level of moisture is going to be indicated. The nut count per pack of 1 kg is going to be there. So is it the 320 pieces of nuts per kg? Is it the 240? Is it the 180? It just also means that the more the nuts, the smaller the seeds. The less the nuts, the bigger the seeds. Stuff like that. All of that specification is going to be crack. The number of broken ones is part of the specification. It means that you need to pay attention to the minutest, tiniest, inconsequential detail. It is very key. It is very key. Harvest process has to be with care. The packing journey from the farm to the city where it's now, let's say, repacked for export has to be all sorted. This is very key. This is phase 2, quality control, before you move from farm. Phase 3 will be logistics and customs clearance. Now your goods are all packed. It requires reliable network of documentation and logistics experts. At this point, you must have been working with a very experienced freight forwarder who can show you um, their background, the things that they've done, exports that they've done for companies, whether it's Nestle, Cadbury, or even smaller businesses. They must show you the historical of job done, that they have experience, right? Especially in a country that intends to export, because somebody can have excellent experience and knowledge to export into the US, but they don't have to do into Canada, even though they are border countries practically. They don't have for the UK. So find the freight forwarder with expertise and experience in the country that you're exporting to. They will be your best guide. Should be your best friend. The successful export of your products honestly depends on them. Whether you're doing big or you're doing small, it's very important. And the paperwork can be very cumbersome. An experienced freight forwarder honestly is what you need for logistics and customs at this phase, up onto the phase of shipping, border inspection, port clearance, and delivery. Even when it gets into the new country, that experience, in fact, most of them have their warehouses or partner warehouses where they receive this product when it has arrived and been cleared for onward distribution to the city or to the states in the country where it's going to. So your freight forwarder is very important. You should be a very close person. Now let's look at the financial implication and cost. Cash flow is a key thing. No buyer is going to pay you 100% unless they're family members, maybe, who says, okay, you're in Nigeria, you're doing this, let me be your first investor and give you money. Please supply my store or supply this over here, right? So you must have the money to put your acts together. It's your business. However, I always say ask for commitment, right? It's very important that you ask for commitment. That means that they have skin. And I'll tell you a little story. I've had farmer friends be engaged by people who want to probably export, and they will tell them, don't worry, grow on 1 hectare, grow me 10 tons of, I mean, when they were saying it, they'll be throwing tonnage at you. The thing will be sounding very big and interesting. When you pick your calculator and calculate and say, even if I made 100 naira times 10,000 kg, you don't hammer it, you just go gaga. And then you like, okay, seeds are not very expensive, but it is beyond seeds, it's beyond clearing farm. You will plant, and let's say God forbid, but force majeure is a key thing. Forces of nature. It's been raining in Lagos and across Nigeria so heavily. Do you know what that rain does to things on the field? Some of them get drowned in that rain. Some of them get washed away. Good afternoon, ma'am. I'm sorry, ma'am. I'm in a meeting. Sorry, sorry, mama. I took mama's position. So you can have all of this washed away. You can have months of hard work just disappear. Nobody happened. It's almost like village people were chasing you. But things like this happen. And there's agri insurance. But yes, you have to know about agri insurance and what crops they insure and what locations they insure before you can even do all of this. Because at the end of the day, it's a plus and minus cost. So if you now finish doing all of this and the person who have promised it offtake just disappears into thin air, you'll be forced to trying to sell your market when it's ready after it has passed all of this trial and test and losses. And this happened with tomato farmers earlier in the year. So there was an intervention because last year tomato was scarce and it was so expensive. So everybody was encouraged, giving some subsidy, extra seeds, support. However, nobody really sat down and looked at markets. Like, who is my off taker? And I do not know if some people had off takers they had discussed with. But then tomatoes got flooded in the market and people were just buying at the capacity that they could buy per time. So people's months of hard work were being underpriced. If you don't sell it, what are you going to do with it? So it brings us to the gaps that are here in Nigeria. Processing is something that we lack. It is something that we must hold our government accountable. This is not a political exercise or debate, but it's something we need to begin to think deeper. Like, why do we have so much post-harvest loss? Why are there no processing centers in farm clusters so that it can increase the shelf life? we cannot talk about energy here now. We know we don't have the best electricity, but can we process these things? Can we have tomato powders? Can we have more dried tomatoes so that we can actually puree them, like rehydrate them and puree them, and still have them available in and out of season? How do we curb losses? How do we make sure that people have sustainable income when they have chosen to do agriculture? Because it is very risky, it is very demanding, it is very tasking. So these are the things to consider. You must have agreements in pen and paper. You must have commitments. People who say that they're going to buy from you must have skin in what it is you're doing. Local supply or even exports. Because cash flow strain is real. You're seeing your money, but you're not seeing your money. It's like the more you look, the less you see. Some of the realities are rejection risk. I've talked about somebody, like a group of people who had their product rejected. A kilo of habanero today in Nigeria is 8,000 per kg. I mean, in farmers market, my 1 kilo is 8,000 per kg. Yes, if I buy in volume, you will not buy it at 8,000 per kg. But let's say even bought it at 4,500 per kg times 400 kg. Look at that loss. Press the calculator, and this is just the cost. You have not talked about container, freight forwarder cost, packaging. All the quality checks, cost of certification. Then the time that it takes to arrive, he arrives and is rejected. So if your bank gave you loan because they confirmed that the PO is genuine and is legit to do all of this processing, is the bank really going to hear that he was rejected? You pay the bank now from other sources. They always put it there. The key product or the key transaction that they are financing is the first source of repayment, primary source of repayment, and other sources available to the borrower. So if you have to sell your house, sell your family kidney, you must pay the bank back. They can actually like commiserate with you and give you some time, but you pay back you must. And then the demurrage. Demurrage is something that we don't talk about enough. It is important to do all of these things before. Then the last challenge is currency fluctuation. You know, so shifting exchange rates between harvest time and final payments can significantly alter your revenue. So you have pressed calculator, dollar is 1.4. Very good. But what if it drops to 1,000? And sometimes I am torn between, is it not more profitable sometimes to even sell locally? But hey, exchange rate is good. So we want to export. Even if it's not just the exchange rate, we want to diversify our markets. It is very important, And I've said so much on this topic because I know there's one more to talk about. But it is an ongoing conversation. But most importantly, find networks. Go to NNPC, register. And I feel like Mr. Olusegun Awolowo did a fantastic job rehabilitating that sector. It is very easy now. It is mostly digital. If you log on their portal, you'll be able to register your certification. It's about 14.5. It's also affordable, and then renewal is 12.5 or so. But then once you're joined into the network, you get updates, you get information, you get trainings, and yes, that is it for topic one. Let's go to topic two. Time is fast running.
I mean, it was very rich. I didn't want to cut you off, and I'm sure a lot of people were also um learning from what you were saying. But thank you so much. I really enjoyed um I really enjoyed like the answers you were giving. I think one thing that is really interesting to me is exporting doesn't before you can even start exporting, you have to start from way earlier from choosing the right product, maintaining quality, understanding your buyers, putting the right systems in place, which you've mentioned and covered a lot of it. So people might want to start assuming, or there's a common misconception of if you want to start exporting, it just necessarily starts from probably that point where you want to start exporting, just buy the product and export. But there's still a lot of things you have to put in place. So thank you for shedding a lot more light on that. I think we can go to the next so we can at least take question. I think this will be the final one because you really touched a lot on the first question, and thank you for that. So we've talked about how before you can even hit the market globally, these are the things you need to do locally. But I think at the early stage, what would you say should be the focus should be on? So you were mentioning a bit of mistakes, like a couple of people that made. So in having this experience, what would you say someone that's going into agribusiness, what should they focus on at the early stage? And what common mistakes should they avoid? What are the systems or milestones that should be in place before you can even start exporting properly? So, would you mind touching on that? Thank you.
Yes, so just like any other business, if you want to become a doctor, you have to go to medical school. I mean, you have to first pass chemistry, physics, and biology, right? Even if you don't have to do all of this when starting the business, you need to get some experience, some knowledge, and I feel like training is the first thing you should do. Whether you are going to, and the truth is this, there are always, like, call them sandwich programs, or but there are always courses around exports. Some people honestly talk jargon, but EDC has done something really amazing about talking about some of these things, and I think they're very credible. Nigerian Export Promotion Council also has. Another thing that is not really always talked about, the road less travel, is to intern with an already exporting company, and most, it's because it's now internal knowledge. You will learn the ropes. All the questions you want to ask, you'll be seeing it happen daily. So, but seeking knowledge, training, and getting it is very key. Very key. Whether it's in a classroom or whether it's like a physical space where you need to get that information, that knowledge is very key. And having or belonging to networks is important. I think that is really honestly where the opportunities fly. And I've been in so many networks where I've gotten opportunities, whether for grants, whether for an exhibition that now took me. So it's not usually even very direct. It is one thing leading to other. So some in 2023, I got an all expense paid trip exhibition. It was Agra. There's agricultural revolution that the 54 African states belong to, and then we got to exhibit. And in that exhibition, I've met a couple of people. Even though now this is 3 years after, even though it is now that it's picking up, that conversation actually started in a forum like that. And that is why I said when you belong to these associations, you see the opportunity, you can now apply to them, and then you can get in on some of them. On some of them, you can be sponsored. However, you have knowledge of that opportunity compared to when you're working in a silo. So it is important to belong to this network and organization even as you seek training. And it is in these spaces that conversation around buy and sell happen. And then, I mean, you can now take it from there and now follow the ladder and the process, right? And then when you have got an opportunity, you need to, sorry, please, one second. I'm in a meeting. Yeah. You need to focus on one product instead of doing so many because it can be confusing. One product could have a slightly different requirement from another one. So it's easier to focus on one. So if you want to start with packaged oils, do oil. Don't start adding other kinds of oil. Just focus on palm oil. When you've mastered that process, you can now add other things. When you want to do ginger, focus on ginger and its derivatives. Don't do ginger, then cocoa, then sesame. I feel it's a lot of headache. And this is my personal opinion. It does not also mean that people have not started with 3 products or 3 crops, but just doing one and then being like really um well rooted in it will help. You also now, additionally, which I've talked about before, you need to secure local supply chain. Like, you have to build your own ecosystem. If you do not have, you have to plug into an ecosystem. But it's easier to start somewhere. Like, that network will lead you to people who are probably primary producers who have no interest in exporting really. But now, who you have to map out a template for that. Okay, this is what you have on ground. They'll have to work with you, but these are your terms. You won't just tell them and read it out to them. You must follow through, and make sure that they're doing what they say they're doing, because it is you that um your buyer knows. Then you also now need to build your local reserve, and it comes from having that robust ecosystem, because when an order comes, it is exports. Remember, if it's a large export, then it's huge. So you need to have like your own network already, and that is why it's important in the beginning to belong to networks, because this is where all the opportunities happen. And collaboration is key in export, I believe, because even if they're not directly collaborating with you in terms of they have their is company, it's not a syndication, company A, company B, and company C. Collaborating with you could just be that they already have a network of the people doing the processing for them, or they have a production facility that you can actually leverage on and use and pay a token for, or they have like liaison officers existing already, that you don't have to fully employ one. You can actually use their own and pay them a cost, So, and like a fractional employee. All of this is important. So I believe that network is good, and you can access this network usually through trainings and associations. Yeah.
I think that's such a very practical advice. Building your network, learning more, doing a bit of more research, mastering a niche first, which is very important. I think there's a phrase or a saying like it's better to be a master in one thing than servants for like a lot of things. Don't know how that is phrased, can't remember. But yeah, thank you for that. Because of the fact that I would want to hear from at least some of our members to just ask questions or contribution. I think I can wrap this there's still a lot to actually touch on, sorry. But I think I can wrap this here and we can take at least two questions or one contribution or yeah, we can do that.
I
So
can wait for
Ozema,
two.
I want to okay, two. Okay. Okay. Thank you once again for sharing your experience with us, Ozioma. Really appreciate you, especially the bit of stories and insights you share with us that I think are something that is very, very essential if you are trying to move into these markets, especially knowing the realities. I mean, there are opportunities which you've mentioned, but knowing that if you are going into these opportunities, these are the realities that you should be more concerned about, or that you should have a clear understanding of these realities before venturing into them. So to everyone that joined us over the last 2 days, thank you for investing your time to learn with us. We do hope this mentorship on agriculture has been really, really good. So there are a couple of people raising up their hand now. Christopher raised up first. So please a minute so we can at least hear from two people, then wrap this up. Thank you.
Hi, Victor.
Hi.
Uh,
Hi, good
okay.
afternoon again. I was
Hi, good
actually hoping
afternoon.
you'd attend today.
Yes,
Glad you could make it.
and thank you so very much, and thank you, Ozioma, for your um, contribution here. So while I was listening to you, you had mentioned when there was a surplus of tomatoes, the government stepped in to help farmers. Was that done through some type of cooperative? What is the process of registering your farm or your business in order to benefit from government subsidies or intervention? And have you benefited in any type of government fertilizer subsidy? That is my question. Thank you. So I can leave time for other people.
Oh, okay, all right. So I'll just speak to that quickly. So first, we don't use fertilizer. So I practice something called organic farming. We try to do regenerative farming, use manure, composted leaves or farm waste. I mean, basically that's what we do. However, yes, I have benefited from the government initiative of quality control. So there's something called the HACCP. It's basically like an export standard quality control check that you should have in your production facility. It's about $1,300, and yes, last year my company got shortlisted. And the thing is also these opportunities are shared in association. So if you're a farmer in your locality, in your cluster, there is an association. You need to belong to them so that you are known. You need to be now. Most of them, I mean, operate through WhatsApp groups so that when those informations drop, you can actually be aware. So for where farmers, for instance, when the Lagos State government was trying to do something for them, they asked all the farmers to put in their name, contact, farm location, and then and they kind of put everybody in cluster, and they said, oh, they were trying to give them something. So they won't come to you. You will need to actually go find people in your own locality and area. So it starts with any other farm in your locality. Ask them, please, which association covers this area, that you want to join it. And when you join it, that is where usually those information are passed, because most times they have like the president of that association who is liaising directly with government people. And when they have your information, anything that is also being shared to farmers in any form also gets to you. The truth is this also, if you're in the southwest, those interventions don't happen as often and as much as it happens for people in the north. The focus is usually for people in the north. But now people, I mean, Ogun and Lagos are doing something good for farmers that I'm aware of, right? From the poultry farmers to the crop farmers, but they go through associations, usually not directly.
Thank you
So I
very
hope this
much.
answers your question.
Yes,
Okay,
thank you.
you're welcome.
All right, thank you, Christopher. Runek, I just granted you access to speak. Let's make it a minute, please. You can request to speak by raising up your hand, and I'll grant access.
Okay, good evening, Mr. Victor.
Good evening. I don't know if
I
is it
actually
Runek?
joined late. Yeah, yes,
Okay,
Ronan. I actually joined late, but um, from the timing I joined, I had made mention of agri insurance, and I wanted to throw more light on that. And also, okay, though Mr. Christopher has asked of association, but he also made mention of network. Is joining a network, is it different from association, or is it the same thing? So throw more
Okay,
light on that insurance, then that of
okay.
network as well. Thank you.
Okay, so for agri insurance, it's basically so every day insurance marketers are marketing you for fire and peril, car insurance, and all of that. So it is also just ask them if they have offer agri insurance, and then alternatively just put it on Google and say which insurance companies offer agri insurance. I mean that addresses is I know Mansard, Leadway, and one other one does this. It depends on who you want to use. Then for associations and network, I want to believe they're kind of one and the same thing, but network happens also beyond associations and it happens within associations. Let me explain. Associations are where the opportunities happen, but connection is the networking. So if there are industry events, please attend. Don't also sit pressing your phone. Talk to these people, engage them, talk about what you're doing, talk about your challenges. Most people are experiencing the same challenge. Network is also that some people may not really necessarily belong in your association or come for industry events, but you're talking in another entirely different place. It has nothing to do with agriculture. And somebody in that room, because you are carrying your market on your head and talking about what you're doing, is saying, "Oh, please, I want to talk to you about this," because they actually have people who they know who know another person who is doing something with you. And they say, you and this person need to meet because this person is doing something or doing something that complements what you're doing or doing something within your space and you can work together to grow. You get so networking. I'm saying network because it can happen outside an association. It can even happen with your current community of non-agri enthusiasts, of just regular people that you know, and yeah, I think that's what I mean.
Okay.
I hope
In
it helps.
addition, I would like you to drop your handle so that we can actually reach out to you. Thank you.
Okay, yeah, I think Victor did that already. And then yeah, so today's
yeah,
kind of a busy day for me, and I promise that I'll take Monday to respond to other questions that I may not have had the time to. You see how they are trying to chase me. Sometimes I'm in her alcove. I'm at the farmers market, and I borrowed one garden to sit down there and take this class. So I'll be a bit more settled on Monday. But I mean, I'm on the Telegram group, and those who are in this room who will have additional questions, please just drop it and tag me eating
okay.
cards. I think that's how I appear on Telegram, and I would respond to it. But Victor, please can go ahead and share my LinkedIn on this thing. I don't go there all the time, but I definitely go there once a week, and I'll respond to questions. But it's easier, honestly, to share it here and tag me because I'll see that it's highlighted and I can come back to it. And I
All
think
right,
there's like
all right.
a follow up mentorship thing. I told Victor my timing is a mess, but yes, I mean, it is important to put your money right and get it because the thing is this: we're Nigerians, and I'm being as practical and honest as possible. A lot of people have been scammed because they showed interest in agriculture and they didn't have the time, so they put their money and they were not there to monitor it. Please do not start any agri business that you're not present in, that you do not have control over. Don't even give me money, stuff like this, you know. And it's always interesting to have somebody come in and have a conversation and you just feel like, oh, this person is really credible enough. Let me just put, please, honestly, don't. because even with my time in this place, I'm beginning to understand the human factors, and I'm talking about in my own supply chain. I've had people I've worked with for 3 years now chop my money and disappear. So you have to be very careful. Let it be someone that you can actually travel down, their office, so you can go there. And it's not just because it's an office, like a sales outlet or a company that actually has stake or something. Like basically, he has a shop. Somebody cannot have a shop and they'll chop your money and they'll pack up in one day and run away. You also look at the money you're giving, because there's really no escrow. And I don't think Risevest is giving any guarantees to anybody. So please be careful. Agriculture is not a get rich quick scheme. It's lucrative if you're patient and you're willing to push it to grow. That is my take, basically. Yeah. So they would have further conversation on this. Victor is our go-to person, and I would answer questions on Monday. He will drop my LinkedIn. Is Ozioma Onwordi on LinkedIn?
Okay. Thank you so much, Ozioma. I think we were able to at least touch on the most important thing. So I think that's still a win because we're trying to make sure we do not go past 60 minutes, which I think we actually
We tried.
stopped to.
Yeah.
Which I think we actually stuck to. I mean, from when you were even lecturing, I could hear some people already trying to
They want to
get your
chase me
attention. So I could
from
just
my
tell
sport.
it's actually a busy day. What do you say?
As I wanted to chase me from my sport.
So I really, really even appreciate the time you took to even still make sure this still worked out the way it went. So thank you so much, and thank you for you all for joining. So for people that are interested in, so because we call this a mentorship program, and the point is to first have an all-round knowledge together as a community on what it is. When we say agriculture, what do you mean agriculture is an investment opportunity, or I can get money, or this can be an opportunity for me to as a source of income? What does that mean? What does that entail? And if I want to do pass locally, how does exports work? So we thought to touch on this as a community first of all, before then, for people that are really, really interested and you have started or you're in between, and you'd like to have like a one-on-one conversation with our guest speaker Ozioma here, and she agreed to do, I mean, based off our schedule, to do a one-on-one mentorship with like just people that are interested. I think I'll be vetting that to make sure that people that come to you are the people that are really interested
Yeah.
in doing this. So I'm going to add that vetting, and would talk about I think I'll share a form this afternoon, this evening, and people that are really interested, I'm going to vet with some questions and all. And if you're interested, please, you can fill in the form, and I would share with Ozioma as soon as we have enough people. And depending on the schedule of both Ozioma and you, wherever you are, would see how the one-on-one conversation can go, because there are even a lot of things I'm sure most of us here would want to talk about in terms of like um your personal daily or routine, depending on if you have a farm, if you want to start, or you currently have this in terms of like cost of production or costs, the money you're already burning and all of that. So it's something that you can have a one-on-one conversation. And this is why we thought to provide this opportunity too. So I'm going to be sharing a form later in the next 30 minutes, or yeah, in the next 30 minutes, you can fill it, and we'll talk about that later on. So I think we can wrap this up now. This was really a good conversation. And agriculture is such a very topic where not everyone wants, everyone is kind of shying away from it right now. So I was like, this month we're actually going to touch on agriculture as an investment opportunity, because at the end of the day, in terms of industry, agriculture is still one of the largest industry that generates money or income to Africa as a whole. So I think I was giving the start on how, in terms of our land in Africa, we have such a very good land which to plant to, and it's not just agriculture doesn't just evolve around farming. There's a whole lot of other things. There's like people in distribution, there's packaging, there's processing, and all of that, which we were able to touch in the duration of these 2 days. So I think that comes to the end of this mentorship session. I think we can do another one next month, but on something different. I'm not going to announce that yet. But on behalf of everyone at Rise, and thank you for joining us. If you joined yesterday, thank you. And if you're just joining today, I also want to thank you. And again, this session or this conversation was brought to you by Risevest. And if you don't know what Risevest is an investment platform which you can invest your money in either dollar or naira denominated assets. So if you remember, you already know this already. Just to cut off so we don't pass much minutes, we can wrap this up now. But if you have questions, please, just as Ozioma has said, let's drop it on the chat box. Yeah, let's drop it on the chat box. Let me tag reply this. So reply this post I just put here if you have any questions. So it's easier for us to collate or Ozioma to see when she's seen it and also tag her. But if you reply this, it's very, very easier to scout through questions. So if you have questions and contribution concerning how this conversation went, please drop it, share with us. And yeah, it's really good for us. So I'm going to share the form again for people that are interested in a deeper one-on-one conversation in mentorship, because what mentorship really is someone is mentoring you. It shouldn't end in this conversation. It should be what happens after this conversation. So that's what we are going to also facilitate as a community. Um, yeah, I guess that's all from me. I guess Ozioma would have been occupied in other things. If not, I would have asked her if she has any last word before we wrap this. But I mean, I quite understand.
Yeah,
Um,
okay, I'm here really, so I
okay,
can
okay,
just finish up and go. So I
okay,
mean,
okay.
like I
If you
said,
have any
start
last word,
start
you can wrap.
small. Fact, we're looking for distributors at our Eating Whole Foods. Come and take our products. Try and market it in your community. Start testing your market, you know, and start taking feedback and just start gaining experience. So that's key. I mean, it is in doing honestly that you can define or find your own mojo and what works. Because somebody could be an expert in aggregation, another person could be an expert in supply chain, another person can be an expert in discussing like trade terms. If you don't start, honestly, you will not know. So I just feel like start. And some people have already DM'd me and said, oh, they want to invest. I already said, don't give me money, oh, don't invest with me anything. We are in perilous times in Nigeria. People chop your money, oh, they're chopping my own like this. So please, any conversations you
To
go
avoid
through
spilling their
before,
throats.
yeah, we have beautiful products at Eating Whole Foods, so you can get some, you can try them out, you can try to, I mean, market and sell them in your community and just see what gives, because people eat, people are looking for healthy. So what we do at Eating Whole Foods, we basically promote our rich food heritage. So you're looking for moringa leaf powder, baobab, you're looking for, cloves, you're looking for garlic powder, pureed ones. We do all of this. So healthy food alternatives, because people are more conscious of their health. So yes, we want more people
Hmm.
on board. We're doing refer and earn. Just start talking and start putting like, oh, I can do this or I can work with this, while you're looking for those communities that you want to belong in, and that way you're
Hmm.
learning. Some people
What?
Can
already
I
DM me and
can
say
I
they want
ask
Sorry,
to
I
you
want
invest
to
in
a
ask you.
quick
agriculture.
question?
Yes.
So,
Some
Christopher,
people
is this
already said,
listening?
please, I want to invest in agriculture. Don't
yeah.
invest with me, oh. I don't take investment only from my husband. So if I lose his money, he will settle in the other room.
So I want to ask you a quick question about verified buyers overseas. So particularly here in the U.S., I live in the Massachusetts area, and I have traveled around New Hampshire, Boston, asking all the African stores what they need and what I can supply to them, and practically all of them says no, they already have someone who is supplying them. Like,
Yeah,
how do you break into a market like that, to a competitive market, um, or to kind of convince them that, look, I'm bringing this thing from my farm, or I can, you know, guarantee that these are really good product and not, kind of
Okay.
adulterated or something like that, which is mostly what they have here.
Okay. Should I gloss my response or give my honest feedback?
On please.
Okay. So that on the other side is fantastic because when you eventually find a verified buyer, they know that if they default in paying your balance, you appear in front of their store and create a scene. Fantastic. Now, the real truth about African stores, and a lot of them I know, is this: they prefer to source locally through their own networks and channels, and I'll tell you why. They want to get the cheapest products, not the best quality. I don't know if I'm making
Okay.
any sense. So you're
Yeah.
offering them quality. So you're focusing on the wrong target markets. So this same energy, can we reverse it? Can you talk to your closer communities?
Mm.
Can you begin to talk to 10 households? Get what they ask for, or Nigerian food. You're Nigerian, I believe. So other things that
Yes.
they eat, I can tell them how organic it is, how it is from your farm. So you're looking at the large, but it's not happening quickly. But if you do 10 households that spend $50 a month, it's not a lot, but it's a
Mm.
starting point. It means that if you do 1,000 household that spend $50 a month, and I know the $50 is really honestly not what anybody's consuming a month with with the cost of food items, right? So
Right.
you will do that numbers and get to your destination quicker, and it means that you can take pre-orders and people trust you enough to pay. In the
Mm.
beginning, it's just a small number, and as that number scales, more people trust you that they have tested and tried your products, and that's the recommendation you need, and they're spreading that word in their own communities
Mm.
and you're expanding
Okay.
because African stores a lot, and maybe I would say that is why I sell, because those people who usually will also buy from them look for alternative. As long as you can ship to their
Mm.
doorstep, they will work with you. Why? So you're buying vegetables from African stores, they've been on shelves for the longest time.
Right.
They're not necessarily processed in the most hygienic environment. Some of them come to Oyinbo in Nigeria where they're just using sun to dry it by the side of the gutter. But it's
Mm.
cheaper because that person's cost of production is lower. If you come to my facility, I'm using an imported dehydrator and I'm going to charge you cost of diesel, cost of food handler, and the consumables like hairnet and nose masks that is used in processing. Because it's a NAFDAC and FDA approved facility, I'll put that cost in my production. So not all of them who are African store owners will want to work with me. And because they're trying to make the most margin, you're not the ideal seller.
Okay. Okay.
So don't waste your time and energy. Redistribute it, rechannel it.
Okay.
Talk to your church community, talk to your close friends. If they're Nigerians, they're most likely getting things from Nigeria.
Yeah.
Honestly, the faster way is even to get smaller samples and say, test this and give me your feedback. And I can give you this. And if you buy bulk, which makes sense for you, you can get this discount. So when you compute everybody's order and you ship it in, first the landing cost is cheaper because you can aggregate that cost across board.
Right.
Then work with me like this because I'm doing the best. Let me market myself.
Okay.
You're
Okay.
not too Victor, and you do the connection.
That'll
Yeah.
make a lot of sense. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
I feel like both of you need to have that one-on-one
Yeah,
deeper
Oh,
you be our matchmaker.
absolutely.
I'm,
Absolutely.
I'm, I'm, I'm going to drop the form. It's going to be part of those people. But
Okay.
thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, thank you. See you now, Ozioma. You said you were going to just 60 minutes. Yeah.
I'm telling you, I've stood up. You can hear the noise in the background, so I'm moving around.
Thank you, man. Really appreciate. I guess we can now wrap this up. We're meant to even wrap it up minutes ago, but questions just keep coming in. So
It's fine.
again, thank you for joining in. So this is something we do usually regularly at Risevest community, which is investment club meeting. That's what we call it. And the goal mainly is, we know how Nigeria or Africa is, where it's not just invest, invest, invest. People also need to know how to um, earn extra source of income or grow from point A to point B, or be the best at what they do. So which is why this community exists. And the goal really is to make sure our members can know how to manage, invest, and better their finances the best way possible, because that's really the only way we can then grow collectively. Because if you're earning your money. If you're earning better or you're managing your money well, it means you can invest better. Without managing your money well or earning better, you cannot even start investing. So by doing all this, we think um, it's. I hope it's been a good conversation, and I hope it's been a good venture from people that have been listening and people that have been joining us so far every month on month. Thank you all so much. And look forward for next month. I think we should do another mentorship session next month, but on a different topic. So thank you all for joining. I'm going to drop the form. I'm going to connect you to Ozioma, and thank you for agreeing to be to take people on a one-on-one mentorship. I mean, it will be based off our terms and conditions, but we'll facilitate that and make sure that happens. We can wrap this up now, and I remain Victor Okunoye. I lead community growth at Risevest, and thank you all. Have a lovely and wonderful weekend. Make sure you rest, and yeah, wish you all a restful weekend and enjoy the rest of your day. Bye, everyone. Bye.